all for coming tonight and supporting girls and women in India. Tonight, it is my honor to introduce Ashley Judd. Miss Judd is an acclaimed actor, activist, and humanitarian who has spent years promoting access to quality healthcare, conservation, alleviating poverty, and bringing social justice around the world. She has served as an expert panelist and moderator for many conferences, including the Clinton Global Initiative, Women Deliver, and the International AIDS Conference. As an acclaimed actress in film, theater, and television, Miss Judd has won numerous awards and has been nominated for the Golden Globes and Emmys. And in 2010, she earned her degree in public administration, her master's degree in public administration from Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government. Tonight, along with Saritha Bhatt, co-founder of Global India Fund and Havis Worldwide, our premier sponsor, we are honored to present Ashley Judd with the 2013 Global India Fund Honorary Award for her tireless effort and courage to work towards improving the health and well-being of girls and women in India and all around the world. Woo!
I would prefer not to talk, so I love that the music came back on because I know y'all can dance. Thank you very much for this kind and generous recognition. I obviously have a lot of people to thank because one thing about which I'm very clear is that I am an expert only at riding on the coattails of those already doing incredible work. So first and foremost, to Population Services International, who, as I like to say, got me into this wonderful mess about, it's almost 11 years ago. And PSI tonight is represented by our president, Carl Hoffman, and two of our most outstanding leaders, Kate Roberts and Marshall Stoll. So thank you very much for introducing me to the world of global public health and doing it with such brilliance, compassion, and resilience. And Amita, what a special person you are. When we did travel together in India for 3 weeks in 2008, you were on fire with this idea that you could harness the Indian community in North America to make a difference back home. And most of us, when we're in such conditions, have a lot of great ideas. But it's the rare person who harnesses the idea and has the stick-to-itness, as we like to say in Kentucky, to actually manifest something this extraordinary and on such a scale. So I love you and I salute you. And thank you for being my sister in the fight. And if we're talking about sisters, of course that brings us to family, and thank you so much, Mom, for being here and for raising me with a heart of tenderness and empathy. A lot of people think the best thing I got from you was my jeans, and they're pretty good. Look at her, she's kind of hot, right? She's pretty gorgeous. But for me, it would be the heart, for which I'm most grateful, so thank you. And when we're talking about heart, I think about stories. And Amita gave a wonderful talk. I said to Marshall, well, that's the talk I was going to give. I wanted to look like the smart one. And I could do that. You know, I did time when Amita started, and she said that a lot of women die in childbirth unnecessarily in India. Since the time she gave her talk and I took the stage, and I timed it actually, 12 women in India, in fact, have died unnecessarily in childbirth. And there were other statistics she shared with you, such as 200 girls will be forced into prostitution today. And the wonderful cards on your table, and I do encourage you to read them. And in addition to your already generous giving and supporting of this very special fund, continue to give, I encourage you. The people are why we do this and why we care. And I just want to briefly share a few stories about some of the folks I met in India. And I like this idea of home because you're Indian Americans and this is your home, and yet India is also your home, whether it's through family who are still there or spiritually your home. And I admire your reciprocity, your gratitude to what you've been able to accomplish in this great democracy, and your ongoing love and support for your democracy at home. And India is a great geopolitical partner of ours, one of our most strategic in the world. And what you're doing makes a difference. And when I think about, and also you're very famous for your spirituality, when I think about, oh, and by the way, I wanted to talk for you in my accent. I was going to do my own speech. So maybe I'll tell you this story. There was and I kind of want to weave this all together. It won't necessarily be tidy, but it is extemporaneous and hopefully from the heart. There was a young boy that I met here tonight. He's the son of one of the patrons, and he's already been to Bangladesh, China, and India. And I said, well, what did you see in India? And he said, well, I went to Darvi. And that's a pretty significant trip for a young, we're all privileged when we're Americans, right? Privileged American boy to make. And Darvi, of course, is the largest slum in India, in a vast and complicated country that's overwhelmed in many ways by poverty. Saying it's the largest slum is really saying something. And I, too, have been to Darvi. And there are many things I could share with you about the lack of sanitation and the exploitation and the hungry dogs and all of it. But what I want to share is, to me, the beauty and the resilience of the Indian soul. There was a man I met who was a labor slave, and he made carpets, and his home was his slave workshop, and he had a small cook stove, which of course was complicated for upper respiratory health. And he had a very small shard of mirror on the wall, and a small pail from which his fellow slave and he would fetch water when they were allowed to do their, washing up and their shaving. And first, when I said to him, how do you endure this? Like, how does your soul take it? He showed me the rug on which he was working, and he said, I console myself by knowing I'm making something beautiful and sending it into the world. And then we happened to pass right in front of that little shard of mirror together, and he was in front of me, and I paused, and I put my hands on his shoulders, and looking at his eyes in the mirror, I said, what do you see when you look in that mirror? And he said, I see a beautiful child of God. And I said, that's what I see too.